Hi everyone, welcome back to your soon-to-be favorite podcast. I'm Angelica.
And I'm Kelsey.
And this is
Here We Grow. A circle in a circle.
Oh yeah.
That's why I keep hitting the wrong one. Okay. What's up, besties?
Hey guys.
We're back and we're on episode 22.
Nice.
We haven't talked about our episode count in a long time. And I was thinking about it at work today. Like, it's fucking crazy. Episode 22 plus 2 bonus episodes. So really 24 episodes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, here we grow.
We've been recording episodes since April, like 13th or something like that.
I think 13th is right.
Yeah, because our first episode was released April 17th,
Mm-hmm.
which I made sure was in my phone today on my calendar to remind me next year so we can have a podiversary. Podcast-iversary. That's better. Podcast-iversary.
No, I like podiversary.
Podiversary.
Kind of sounds like pottery though.
Yeah, it does.
Podiversary.
Well, we got to figure out something big to do for our
Yeah,
podcast-iversary. We got time.
Yeah.
We got a few months.
Oh. We got a while.
Yeah. Well, also, this episode's coming out the first episode in October. So, spooky vibes.
We're almost at 6 months.
Yeah.
We're almost halfway through the year.
Yep. We've been recording we've been doing the podcast for half a year, yeah. That's crazy.
Wow. Nice.
Anyway, do you have any small talk?
No?
Okay. I just wanted to say our merch is on.
Oh, yeah.
Angelica's already ordered some. I'm going to order some when I get home tonight. There's t-shirts, crew necks, and hoodies for right now. Of course,
Got myself one of each.
Yes. As we go, we'll expand on that and do other stuff and different designs like catchphrases and stuff. But it's our first merch store. I'm so excited. So if you want to support, please go and purchase one. You're mostly supporting us by advertising for us. We're not going to make a ton of money off of it, and whatever money we do make, we'll just put towards stuff we need for the podcast. So head on over and you can see it in our link tree, or if you're not following us on Instagram, you can text one of us and we'll send you the information. But hopefully by maybe not the next time we record, but the time after, we'll be wearing our merch on camera. I was going to say that. And then also, if you're listening to us right now, stop what you're doing. Go to your podcast app, click the share button, and send our podcast to someone you think might like our show. It's time to take off. So share with whoever you think might like it. Multiple people, one person, doesn't matter. Stop right now and go do that. We'll give you a minute. We've missed out on quote of the week for a couple of weeks now. So I'm going to do something similar to that. It's not really a quote. It's just something I've been thinking about, and I'd like your opinion on it. So recently we saw a friend of ours that we haven't seen in 10 years.
Oh.
You're looking at me like, who? Who did we see? And we were having a conversation. We were at a gathering, but we were having a little bit of a conversation, and he was saying, like, it kind of feels right, like, being here. Like, it feels right. And I was like, yeah, it fits. Like, it's not weird. It's not awkward. Like, it fits. It it's the way it's supposed to be. And then later on in the night, he was saying something to the fact of, like, I don't know if this is really where I'm supposed to be in life, basically, or if I'm doing the right thing, if I'm making the right decisions. And it got me thinking, like, kind of what I wanted to say back to him was, like, any decision you make is a right decision. And with a caveat, okay, any decision you make in life is a right decision, but not if you're hurting someone, if you're hurting yourself, or if you're continuing to make decisions that you know are hurting you. That's the only exceptions. But if you think about it, any decision you make is going to lead to the next decision, to the next decision. It's just going to carry you through life. So really, any decision you make is not really a wrong decision. It's always going to be a right decision, because it's always going to lead you to the next thing in life. or to the next realization of the next decision you need to make. Does that make sense? How do you feel about that?
You forge your path as you go.
Yeah. Like, I know a lot of people struggle with, like, am I doing the right thing? Am I in the right place in my life? And to some people that thought is agonizing because they feel like, how am I supposed to know? But the thing is, you're not supposed to know. You just make the next decision, and then the next one, and then the next one, and the next one. And when you do that, what you said, you're like forging your path. Like, it's not supposed to be every decision's the right decision or the best decision or the right decision by society standards, but whatever gets you to the next point in life. Does that make sense?
Interesting.
Okay.
So we're doing a segment,
Yes.
which you've done before.
Yes.
Ask yourself, when was the last time I cried?
Yes. When was the last time I cried?
So last time I cried was my wedding, which was...
You haven't cried at work recently?
No.
Remember last time we did this? We're like, when was the last time you cried at work? When was the last time you didn't cry?
Oh yeah,
You were
work related, not work related.
Yeah.
At work?
I haven't cried at work in a long time.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Actually, no, that's false. So, I, as many of you, are addicted to caffeine. For me, it's like a dopamine boost. I talked about this in the ADHD episode. And so in the morning, like, I need caffeine. And I can honestly, now that this has happened to me, which I'll explain the timeline of events, I can tell that I can wait until, like, where's your microphone?
Oops.
I'm like, let me just check and see if she has her microphone on. I think it should be okay.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Testing 1, 2, 3. So what day was this?
Did you not have your caffeine one day? You cried?
So I didn't have my caffeine one day. Travis spent my pop money, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna see what I can do without it. So I go to work. I don't have pop. I'm drinking water all morning, and so that means no caffeine. And I don't like coffee, so I can't drink coffee, which sucks because coffee's free at my job. And I'm good until lunch. I have lunch, and then I get back from lunch. It's probably like 1:30, and I start having this pounding headache. Like, my head hurts, my whole body starts hurting. I feel like I just need to go lay down. So I'm starting to, like, get teary-eyed and, like, get upset because I don't feel good.
Oh my gosh.
And so I'm like,
that bad?
Yeah, that bad. But it's weird because it didn't hit me until like 1:30.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So I go to the conference room, which is like in a corner of the front of the building where you can't really see, like, unless you walk into the conference room, you can't see that I'm in there. And we don't ever go in there. Like, it's not set up. There's no table in there or anything. And so I go in there, and I'm like, I'm either gonna go in here and, like, stretch on the floor or cry. And I did both. I laid on the floor and, like, stretched because it was like my head was hurting and also, like, my neck and my shoulders. And I've been having, like, neck and shoulder pain. We've talked about this. Like, I don't sleep how I'm supposed to sleep on my bed with my pillows and all that stuff. I already know that. And
how do you sleep?
Like, with too many pillows. My spine isn't aligned.
Are you like this?
No, I sleep on my side, so my head's, like, more propped than it should be.
How the fuck do people sleep on their sides? I don't understand. How do you stay like that? Yeah.
I'd have to demonstrate. But anyway.
All night?
Yeah. Yeah. Or I used to sleep on my stomach a lot, but after I had Cash, it was more like side sleep.
Wow.
But anyway, so.
Do you put a pillow in between your legs?
No, but it does feel good sometimes.
You're supposed to.
I know. It helps align your spine.
You sleep on your side.
Yeah. I do sometimes, but I don't have a good pillow for that.
Jose sleeps on his side.
He looks so disgusted by it. Jose sleeps on his side.
I married a man who sleeps on his side.
Do you sleep on your back?
No, I sleep on my tummy.
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, that's the preferred way, but yeah. I just haven't been able to get comfortable that way. Anyway, we've been tangenting for too long. So I go in the conference room and I lay on the floor and I start stretching, and I'm like really trying to stretch my neck and my shoulders. I'm doing like some yoga poses. And
you know it's really good to stretch your neck? You go like that, but so you like interlock your fingers. Yeah. You put them behind your neck. Not necessarily, but like let's say you're at a table. Mm-hmm. You like put the ends of your elbows, or I guess your elbows.
The ends of your elbows. The very tip of your elbow.
What the fuck do
Not the whole elbow.
Not the middle elbow or the beginning of it. The end. You put your elbows on the table and you just stretch it out. Okay. I've done it. It feels really good.
Well, so when I was laying on the floor, I did like the pose you would do if you were sleeping on your stomach, where you like have one leg up. I had like one arm stretched out, and I was like,
"Wait, this is where now?"
In the conference room on the floor.
Okay.
No one knew I was in there.
All right. So, is there carpet?
Yeah, it was carpet.
Okay.
Yeah, I should probably say that it was on carpet. I was not on the tile. I would do that though if I was desperate enough, but no, there was carpet in there. And so I do that for a minute, and then I start feeling relief from stretching, and that's how I start crying. And then I was like, I don't know if I can do this. The stretch did make me feel a little bit better, so I go back to my workstation, and I'm just like upset now. Like I can't cheer myself up. I'm like, I fucking need caffeine. Like I have to leave. I've already taken my lunch break. So I text my supervisor, and I was having a little bit of a bad mental health day that day too. Like it wasn't just that. And I text my supervisor and I'm like, I'm having a really bad day mentally. I need to like step out for a minute. I'm not going home. I'll be right back. I literally went down the street to the gas station and got a 32-ounce Mountain Dew from the fountain. While I was at the gas station, a fight broke out.
At the gas station?
Yes. Inside. Yes. And I'll tell that story in a minute. But basically, I end up getting my pop. I go back to work. I start sipping on it. And within 15 minutes, I'm feeling fabulous. So it is very apparent I'm addicted to caffeine, and I was withdrawing from it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So now I will say, like, yeah, I should quit caffeine and whatever, wean myself off of it, but it does give me dopamine for like the ADHD. So I'll have to figure something out, at least lower my tolerance and all that stuff. But so the fight at the gas station, that was the last time I cried at work. At the gas station, I pull up. I cried on the way to the gas station. I pull up to the gas station. I dry my tears. I go inside. I'm like, let me just get in and out of here. I don't have to talk to nobody. Speedway gas stations, they have the self-checkout now. Have you seen that?
No.
They have like a separate, like one of the closed registers. You can go up to it and scan yourself and like do a self-checkout.
Cool.
Obviously card only. There's no cash or whatever, but so I'm like, let me just go in here and do this real quick. As soon as I walk in, I'm instantly overstimulated because I'm obviously already upset, withdrawing from caffeine. And it feels like it's just so loud in there. Like there's a lot of commotion going on. There's a machine making a noise. There's a guy walking around talking on the phone that's like out loud on speaker, and he's talking loud and the speaker's loud. And then there's this couple in there and they're talking to each other and they're talking loud. I'm like, why is everybody talking so fucking loud? And granted, I may have been a little bit more sensitive to it, but it was like just a lot of commotion. Mm-hmm. And so I get in line with my pop, and I'm like the fourth person in line waiting to check out. And at first I was just going to go to the lady to have her check me out, or wait until I was up far enough to go over to the self-checkout. Because if nobody's over there, like you can just cut the line and go over to the self-checkout. And the cashier, she starts yelling at the guy that she's checking out. And she's like, are you going to stop talking shit so I can check you out or what? Or something like that. And she says it loud enough for all of us to hear. Ooh. And I'm like, damn, what the fuck? But we can't hear anything the guy's saying. And then, everybody forgets about it and it's just waiting in line. A few seconds later, there's like a spill. And then the cashier takes a giant Gatorade bottle that was sitting on the counter that she was checking him out with, throws it at the customer, hits him in the face with it, almost knocks his glasses off. The Gatorade bottle continues to go flying across the gas station and hits the counter like behind the registers where like you get coffee. And all hell breaks loose. All the other workers at Speedway run over to the register. She's cussing him out, you know, talking shit, blah blah blah.
Wait. Is this the same customer she was talking? She was yelling.
Same guy.
So he spilled something while trying to check out?
I think he pushed over a drink to her, like, because he was already talking shit. I think he pushed the drink over to her to, like, spill onto her. And she threw the Gatorade at him. And
it hits him in the face?
Hits him in the face, yes. And it's a huge Gatorade bottle. Like, think of the biggest Gatorade bottle you've ever seen. That's what she throws at his face. Full of Gatorade. And his girlfriend, the guy's girlfriend, was there. She was waiting at the door with her stuff because she had paid at the self-checkout and was waiting at the door. So she runs up to him and she's like bumping him like, dude, or whatever his name. I'm just going to say dude because I don't remember his name. Dude, come on, get out of here. Come on, let's get out of here. Let's get out of here. And when I was telling Katie this story, she was like, yeah, you can tell he's probably done shit like this before. If she was ready to just come get him and make him leave, she knew he was at fault.
I'm the wrong,
yeah. And so he ends up leaving. And on the way out, he challenges the cashier to come out and fight him outside. But like under his breath, like you can't even speak up. So she stays behind the counter and she's just yapping and talking shit and like just going off. And I'm like, here I am standing in line, like, I just fucking need this coffee. Can I just check
out? Are
you
drinking it as you're checking?
No, I hadn't drank it yet because I'm like, I want to cherish this moment when I get back in the car. And I don't want it to be tainted by all this commotion. And then I'm like, okay, I'm waiting in line. I'm like, okay, can we just continue though? Like, can somebody else step up and check people out? Like, let's not hold up the line. And I told my boss.
I know y'all just got a Gatorade thrown at your face, but please, let's keep it moving.
Right. I told my boss I'd be right back. Like, I need to hurry up and get back. She's not going to believe there was a fight at the gas station. Or that I went to the gas station. So I go over to, finally, I'm like, I'm just going to go to self-checkout. I look over and there's a guy standing at self-checkout, but he's so like into whatever's going on. He's like looking outside at them going outside. And like, he's in the middle of checking out. Like, I can't even interrupt him. His friend walks up and asks him what happened. He's telling his friend, I'm like, oh my God. I almost like was like, are you going to finish checking out or can I come over there? Like, cause I'm like ready to get the fuck out of here. Finally, he finishes checking out, and then I squeeze past everybody to go to the self-checkout, and then they start taking people to check out at the register, and I'm just like, let me get the fuck out of here. So I go back to work, and again, I feel better after like 20, 30 minutes of drinking. I feel so much better. I'm like in such a better mood. But yeah.
That was a great story.
Thanks. I was like, I don't have any small talk, but I should have just told that story.
Yeah, and that reminds me, I have small talk too.
Oh.
I went to Designer Purse Bingo.
Oh, yeah. But we need to finish the first segment, which is when was the last time you cried?
My wedding.
What about
my wedding?
Hasn't been anything recently.
I don't want to dish too much out because it's like you never know who listens, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, my coworker that listens just listened to that story of me on the floor in the conference room.
Well, I'm going to tell them different. Oh, okay, we got a new... we got this new girl at work, and she came in pretty hot. She came in pretty cocky.
Overly confident.
And then slowly started realizing, oh shit, it's not that easy or simple. Maybe I should back up and learn a couple things before I start posting shit.
Yeah.
So I've been like frustrated over that, but not at her because I guess I try to step up to be this position, and they didn't tell me no, but they just kind of told me like, not right now. Not yet. Yeah. Still too green. So we're going to put this new person in the position you wanted. And so it's kind of been frustrating, like training the person to do the job you wanted, you know, kind of type thing.
Yeah.
I didn't cry. It was just very kind of frustrating. But then I realized, you know, like, fuck it. Like, whatever. Let her do it.
Yeah.
Give her all the stress then.
Yeah. And she's the one making all the mistakes. I can't think of a time that I cried outside of work.
I almost cried on a Monday.
Okay.
I have someone very close to me that keeps making the dumbest decisions.
Yeah.
And I was talking to them, trying to knock some sense into them.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't
still making those dumb decisions.
I don't think it's working.
No, it's definitely not working.
So that's kind of frustrating. I almost cried there too.
Yeah.
You know, what can you do?
Shout out if you have somebody in your life that you wish you could help, but you can't. Sucks.
Yeah.
Tell us about Purse Bingo.
Okay, so first of all, I thought it was going to be like regular bingo. Like I was expecting like ladies in like their 50s and 60s and their little like, what's that like dress nightgown thing?
Oh, like
what are they called? Their muumuus, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I don't know, the hairnets or like just their hair up. and like smoking. Like I have this whole thing like thought about.
You went back to like Roseanne.
Yeah. But no, it's designer purse bingo. So everyone was dressed the fuck up.
Oh shit.
There was
and you
probably
came straight
like
from work?
Yeah. Well, I put on a t-shirt, and then when I realized how nice my coworker was going, I was like, hold on a damn second.
Yeah.
She let me borrow like a jacket that looked really cute over. Like made me look a little less off the street.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had like Michael Kors bags, Coach bags, Tory Burch. Did I say Coach already?
Mm-hmm.
Kate Spade was the other one. It was so much fun, but it was like not rigged, but it was for the Brownsburg Education Foundation, and like people could buy free spots. So like if you had 4, you could just use your free spot that you paid for and win.
Yeah.
So like I was kind of like, man,
yeah,
there's no chance of me winning then.
Yeah, it was kind of rigged then.
Yeah. But it was still fun because like, okay, maybe you have a chance, but not really.
Did you eat good food from the food trucks?
No, because there were long lines and it started raining.
Oh.
So we went and got tacos later. Well, we went to get Mexican food.
Like authentic Mexican food.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good. But no, it was really fun. I'd do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was funny because the MC was this teacher. I forget where she's a teacher at. But she started talking to us like we were 5th graders. Like very disrespectful. Very not disrespectful in the sense that she was like being mean, but like condescending. Yeah, she was very condescending. And like the ladies next to us, she was like, just shut up and call the numbers or whatever.
She yelled it out?
Yeah, she yelled it out.
That's real bingo right there.
She was there like for real bingo.
Yeah.
But no, it was cool. It's fine.
Maybe we should go to real bingo one day.
I'd love to go to real bingo.
Okay.
Seriously though.
Next girls' night.
I'd love to do that shit.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we should.
I just don't know where.
At the
Are they gonna be smoking there?
Probably. At what are they called? I'm not gonna pretend to know the name.
Legions?
Yeah, at the Legions, or there's another one. The
VFW?
VFW, yeah. VFW.
He goes there?
Yeah.
Wait, I know a veteran.
I know a veteran.
We could just take him and say we're there for him.
Yeah. I know veterans too.
Who?
Katie.
Oh, okay. Who else? You said veterans.
I did.
I did.
I mean, my grandpa, but he's dead.
Oh. The veteran I knew is Omar. Shout out.
Shout out Omar. He's not caught up though. He says he listens, but he ain't caught up.
Yeah, but I also feel like he'd be one of those people that would like still buy merch and like just to.
Yeah, did you hear that? He's one of those guys that would still buy merch.
I challenge you to buy merch even if you're not caught up.
Yep.
Even if you don't listen.
Yep.
Which how would you know? How would you know if you're not listening?
You're not listening. So when you hear this 6 months from now,
I dare
buy some
you
merch
to buy a shirt for your significant other. I dare you. Okay.
Right. Should we take a break?
Yes, let's. Okay, bye. Okay, so I did write this down, but it's in my other notes. So today we were talking about the Central State Hospital, which if you live in Indy, you know where that's at. It's off of Washington.
Some people don't know. Some people don't even know anything about it.
Jesus Christ.
Basically, people on the west side, you probably know about it.
Yeah, I guess so. Okay, fine. We'll cut you some slack. But it's
smooth it out.
It's between so it's like West Washington, Tibbs Street, Warman,
Vermont. Oh yeah, Warman
and Vermont.
Yep.
It's like in that square.
Yep. It's over 100 acres.
Over 100 acres. Mm-hmm. There is actually they started tearing down buildings back in the 70s.
Yep.
And just recently after the pandemic, or even during the pandemic, I don't remember when they started building.
A little bit before the pandemic.
No, before the pandemic.
Yeah, because there was the apartments on Washington Street.
Yep. They had apartments built on there. Now they have like townhomes and houses.
Townhomes, yeah. Which we'll get to.
Yeah, we'll get to it. But
oh, the popping of balloons.
Yeah. So anyways.
Yeah.
So yes, so this was the insane asylum that we have here in Indiana that served many counties for a long time. Towards the end of it, it just started serving mostly like within Indiana and like surrounding
they
ones.
opened other hospitals in other surrounding areas, and they're actually still open. I found out in Evansville, Logansport, another place, and then there's one here in Indy still. We'll get to that.
Okay. So first of all, Indiana legislation had agreed to build the Central State Hospital for the mentally ill.
Right, because it was a state hospital. It had to be state funded.
Yep, state funded back in like 1827, I want to say.
Is when they approved.
When they approved the plans of creating it. Mm-hmm. It didn't open until 1848. So when they opened in 1848. 21
years later.
Yeah, do the math.
Is it
21?
21.
If it's really 27. Yeah. So
21 years later, and it took a while.
Yeah.
But
also
first of all, this was in the 1800s, so it probably took a lot longer to build these huge buildings, which these were huge, like Elizabethan, like
Gothic
type of buildings. So it probably took a lot of time, but also there was like problems with like probably funding and like the planning of it that
I'm sure. Who would fund for that?
Well, we'll get into one of the things we're going to talk about today is the timeline of like mental health treatment, and we'll kind of get into that a little bit.
Yeah. So when they first opened in 1848, they had 5 patients and 1 building.
Yeah.
So it was all ran out of 1 building, 5 patients.
One huge fucking building.
Huge fucking building.
It was like 3 mansions put together.
Was the admin building the first building, I think?
Really?
I thought so. Is it
maybe
not?
But the admin building is now the Central State Mansion.
Oh.
It's still up.
So what was the first building? I didn't look at that.
I don't know. I didn't look either. I have a map of where all the buildings were.
And then by 1928, so 80 years later, in a span of 80 years, they went from 5 patients to 3,000 patients.
Yeah.
Still in one building, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
3,000 people.
Yep.
Not including the doctors or nurses.
Yeah.
Or any admin personnel. 3,000 people in one building?
Yeah, I think that number soon went down to like 2,500 because of the other hospitals that opened in the surrounding areas. Somewhere around that time.
Oh, sorry. Not one building, but
they started opening the women's dorms, and then there were 3 men's dorms. The women's dorms were called the Steeples, 7 Steeples, and then there were 3 men's dorms. And then a bunch of other buildings, which we'll get into.
Yeah, so they had the dormitories for a male and female, a pathological department, the sick hospital for treatment of physical ailments, a farm colony for occupational therapy, and they put that in quotes, occupational therapy, a chapel, an amusement hall that included an auditorium, billiards, and bowling alleys, which I had to look up what are billiards.
Pool
tables.
Yeah.
Just say pool tables.
Billiards is how it's pronounced.
Yeah. I was like, billiards. What is that?
Yeah.
A bakery, a firehouse, a cannery, which I had to look that up too.
Cannery, yep. I literally have this all in the same list.
Where they can food.
Canned food, yep. Canning, like, probably like fruits.
I would say fruits, probably.
Jams and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then
gardens and fountains.
Can you tell we watched the same documentary? We didn't even know it until we got here today.
Which, by the way, if you want to watch this documentary on YouTube, it's not the best, but it's pretty informational.
Yeah.
And I mean,
it's not the best quality, but you do get all the information you need.
You get all the information, and she does her own personal videos where she goes onto the property. Central State Hospital History and Paranormal Research is the video on YouTube.
Yes. One thing I wanted to say was 1848, when they originally opened with 5 patients, just for reference, that was 146 years before I was born. So 2 lifetimes before I was born, basically. That's crazy.
Yeah, so in that span of years, that 1848 to 1940 is when they started having all those buildings.
Yeah.
On 100 acres of land.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And now there's only 4, 5, maybe 5 buildings left, and 2 of them are repurposed for something else.
Yeah, we'll get into that later.
Yeah. Which Angelica finds incredibly creepy.
It's very creepy. Okay, so before we get into the abuse and all those allegations, I read on there that there was a Dr. Everts, who was a superintendent of the hospital. He was the first to report his findings to the government back in 1870. And basically his findings concluded that it was not fit for life.
Mm-hmm.
So back in 1870, bro.
Before they even got to thousands of patients.
This was 100 years before they started shutting down.
Yeah.
So 1848 to 1870 might have not been that terrible, but literally for 100 years, just a constant abuse of patients.
I have a quote about the conditions.
Before you get into that,
okay.
So I'm listening to this, and they're talking about Dr. Everts, and I should have looked up his first name, but that's my coworker's last name, Everts, and I was like, should I? No.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask her. I was like, fuck it. What is she gonna say?
Yeah.
So I tell her about like, hey, like I'm just listening to this podcast, which I wasn't.
Yeah.
But she don't even know that.
Yeah.
My boss.
It was a terrible documentary that's 10 years old on YouTube.
Well, I just wanted her to know that I was listening to something. Like I didn't want her to know that I was watching a YouTube.
Yeah.
Which if she listens, girl, you know now. And I told her about it, and I was like, your last name is Everts, so like I was wondering if you knew anything about that, or maybe your husband knew something about that. And she thought it was very interesting. She said no, she'd never heard of something like that.
Yeah.
But she said that she was going to ask her husband's her husband's dad.
Oh wow.
To see if
they have information.
Yeah, because how interesting would that be? Yeah.
That would be interesting. We'll follow up with you guys about that. So the quote I have is from I don't really know what to call it. It's basically a letter to the governor, but it's kind of in the form of like a magazine. And of course, this was in like the 1800s that this was written. So it was around 1880, actually. So it's like old type, old illustrations, like hand-drawn illustrations and stuff. But basically, this is a quote from the guy who wrote it, and the name of the letter is Indiana Crazy House. And his name is Albert Thayer, and he wrote in there, quote, "Basement dungeons are dark, humid, and foul, unfit for life of any kind, filled with maniacs who raved and howled like tortured beasts for want of light and air and food and ordinary human associations and habiliments. Leaking, rotting floors and walls, beds made of straw, cockroach-infested kitchens, no adequate light, air, heat, or ventilation." So basically, like, and I was telling Angelica, your face.
I'm just so disturbed.
I was telling Angelica last week when we talked about doing this episode, when I had already started doing research, that I knew about, us having an insane asylum and like a little bit of the history of it. But I did not know that this was literally like textbook insane asylum, scary horror movie type shit. Like textbook. Anything that you would expect to happen at an abusive, rundown insane asylum happened at this hospital.
I knew that growing up.
I did not know that.
But I can't remember.
I knew it was like rough, but I didn't know like the extent of it.
I can't remember who told me though. And what's crazy? Oh, never mind. We'll talk about it later.
Okay. What do you remember about it growing up as kids?
Well, first of all, I knew about, because we grew up at a daycare that's only a couple of streets away from the insane asylum. And we'd always like walk to parks or walk to churches, or just like friends in general, like their houses. I mean, you just kind of know. If you're on the west side, you kind of know about these apartments.
Yeah.
Or sorry, about these buildings.
Yeah.
About the insane asylum.
The community center we grew up in was just a few blocks away.
Yeah.
From this property.
Well, the daycare we went to, they would take field trips to the museum.
Yeah.
On the property.
We went to the museum probably together.
Yeah. Multiple times. Like it was on the schedule every summer to go to the museum, which at the time is when students would come and they would do experiments on patients. They would do research. They would have classes there.
Right. So you're saying the museum was the pathology building.
Yes. The pathology
building. Where they would do autopsies, experiments. They would have classes for other doctors to learn about mental health and how to treat it. But now it's a museum it's called the Indiana Medical History Museum. And you can go in, it's like $5. You could schedule a time to see it. And basically they have like preserved organs and skeletons,
brains specifically,
old wheelchairs and autopsy tables. And
you can go fucking creepy.
You can go in and see the theater where they did the classes, which is actually really cool to see.
But like,
and like
why
old transcripts of like courses and stuff like that.
But why at 10 years old did I need to know that?
Right. I remember when we went, I remember telling my parents or whoever about the field trip, and they were like, "Oh, how was it?" And I was like, "Actually, it was really creepy." And not only the stuff in the museum, but the people who were touring you,
yes,
they were like really skinny and pale,
so pale,
so pale, and like just it seemed like they were dead, like they were ghosts.
Oh,
and as a kid, of course, we thought they were like, "Oh my god, these people are creepy, like they're ghosts."
Yeah,
ghosts. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah, I don't know who told me specifically, but yeah, I like knew that there was abuse there.
So I remember, like, my earliest memory of it is getting picked up from Hawthorne and driving past it on the way home, and just seeing like the dorm buildings that were really close to the fence on Warman, and the broken windows and the graffiti and all that stuff. And my parents would talk about that property because they used to live in the neighborhood while it was open. And they would talk about like seeing people running up to the fence, trying to jump the fence, like patients, and like driving by and hearing people screaming and yelling and like all kinds of stuff. And people actually escaping, obviously.
Oh my god, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, and we'll get to this a little bit later, but I have some stories from like people who commented on a post that I posted on Facebook in a like Indiana history group. So we'll get to that a little bit later, but yeah, it like even just knowing that of my parents that they witnessed that, that's crazy to me. Not crazy,
Jesus.
but
yeah,
interesting.
Very out of this world.
So yeah, that's my like best memory of it. And then we know people who have like broken into the shut down buildings. Like other friends, like even Sal was saying that like he's broken into it. My friend Katie at work, she's broken into it before. Lots of people.
Oh my god. Yeah. They're brave. I would never.
Katie got caught by the cops and they made her leave.
That's it?
Yeah.
That's not bad.
Leave, yeah. They're not gonna do anything.
How old was she?
I don't know, she didn't say. She said it was winter though, and they were stupid because they got caught because their footprints in the snow. So don't break in the winter.
So, first of all, it was terrible condition, not only for the abuse, but the actual buildings themselves.
Yeah.
They had abundant leakages, rotted floors, cockroaches in the kitchen, like Kelsey said.
Yep.
Pantries, like cockroach infestation, like where their food was.
Yep.
And just terrible, like paint peeling, just not enough space.
Yep.
Not enough caregivers to patient ratio.
Well, and we know this now that like caregivers of any adult caregiver, like any caregivers in this day and age that care for adults that are unable to care for themselves, whether it be the elderly or the mentally ill, are not paid enough to do what they're supposed to be doing.
No.
And so, of course, like the patients suffer from that. So anyway, continue.
Yeah. So like no repairs, absolutely no repairs were made in the 100+ years that it was.
Well, actually, I heard this snippet in one of the documentaries I was watching. I don't remember which one it was. I didn't really catch the full information on this, but they eventually changed from the like Elizabethan like Gothic buildings to brick buildings because if you look at old pictures of Central State like when it first opened, and then pictures of them when it closed, the buildings look different. Like they went from like a Gothic to like a square brick building.
It's probably cheaper.
Yeah, probably. So some of the buildings did get redone, or at least they were added on and probably a little bit better than the original buildings, but still the original buildings, I'm sure, were horrible.
Insufficient funds from the government.
Yeah.
Which I was asking Kelsey, like whoever approved this to happen, you should be held responsible for the funds to continue it running. You wanted it to happen.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and then over 3,000 patients, like.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, I don't think they. Well, so.
Let's talk about the patients. So it could be anybody. You didn't necessarily have to be quote unquote mentally unstable or unfair, unwell.
It could be somebody who's sad.
Yeah.
It could be somebody who's having bad dreams. It could be a child.
Or mood swings.
There were children there.
What the fuck? I didn't read that part.
There were lots of children there. That was like one of their biggest problems, is that they were very overpopulated with children. Yeah.
Like teenagers, or like...
No, like for a long time, Down syndrome was seen as like, send that child away.
Oh
like,
my God. Okay, people who their families didn't want to deal with,
or didn't know how to take care of.
Didn't know how to take care of, or
yeah,
they didn't have a family, so that's where they went.
Yeah. There's a lot. Yeah.
Just terrible.
Yeah. To that point, I had found a list of courses from 1908 that they had at the pathology building. And I'm just going to read some of the courses because some of the diagnosis names can kind of just clue you in on like how behind the times. I mean, for their times, they were on time, but how like basic these are. One of them is simple melancholia, agitated melancholia, and stuporous melancholia. And if you don't know, being melancholy is just kind of like being sad. What's the other one? That was
I would have been locked up quick.
Yeah. Pathology of spinal system diseases. So if you had a spinal disease, you would be there. In a insane asylum, which doesn't make sense.
You know, when people talk about like, oh, I want to travel back in time and be like in the 50s or 60s.
Yeah.
Bitch, no, you don't. No. People were dumb. I mean, not that they were dumb, they were ignorant. They just didn't know what they didn't know.
Ignorant, yeah.
Hell no. I don't want to go back in time. The fuck?
No.
Hell
you want to talk about treatments?
Yes.
Okay.
So I didn't write down everything because actually for me it was kind of hard to write about it.
Yeah.
But I'll talk to some about it, and then you can probably fill in the rest.
Okay.
So they had padded cells. They were locked in rooms sometimes with no sunlight for days. Forced to sleep on straw mattresses.
Straight jackets for days. Like no relief from them. Days on end.
They were beat and choked by workers, their caretakers. Locked in closets, restrained to bed for long periods of time, not allowed them to speak to anyone else really.
Yeah.
Refrained. Food.
Oh.
Restricted.
Refused.
Yes, refused food. Refrained. Refused.
Well, and like at this time, like it was not understood that like how to care for people who are mentally ill other than punishing them.
Yeah, so like they had 3 beliefs that mentally ill could be helped through punishment, confinement, and moral therapy. Or sorry, moral training.
Yeah. And then some other like treatments, quote unquote treatments, came out, which is where you get to like shock therapy and lobotomies.
Oh, they also were drenched with cold water.
Yeah, a lot of different things. Like they were trying to shock the system, basically.
Yeah.
So shock therapy, of course, you've seen like in the scary movies where they put the 2 things on the side of your I looked like I was being shocked. I'm gonna cut that out.
No.
No.
Make that a TikTok.
One of the ghosts have possessed me. This is what it looks like. You know, they put the 2 things on your temples and then they shock you. And the thought was that, like, again, shocking the system would like shock you out of depression or mania or whatever it was that you were diagnosed with.
Well, something that I didn't know about shock therapy is that it produces a seizure. I didn't know that.
Is it every time though?
I'm pretty sure.
It is a shock directly to your brain.
ECT, passing electrical current through brain to produce a seizure. And they had no anesthetics until the 1950s.
People do say you feel really like good after a seizure, like euphoric. Yeah. I don't know.
I would have to guess so.
So another thing with shock therapy is they often induce them into a coma by insulin.
Oh, yep. That was my next one.
So they would use insulin to drop their blood sugar and cause them to go into an induced coma, and sometimes would kill people by doing that, which is fucking insane to me. Like, if my family member was in this hospital and the doctor is just like trying whatever, like, oh, let me just shoot them up with some insulin and see what happens, and then they die, what the fuck?
Isn't that crazy how times have changed? Like, they're literally dosing patients who are quote unquote mentally ill with large doses of insulin back then. And then now people can't even get insulin because it's so fucking expensive.
Yeah. Yeah.
People actually need it to survive.
Yeah.
And here you are inducing them into a coma.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, again, I'm angry because it happened. I understand during the times they didn't know. But geez, how times have changed, man. Crazy.
And then there's lobotomy. If you don't know what lobotomy is, God. It was very experimental. It was basically where a doctor would basically remove a part of your brain by sticking a metal, like, needle, a very long metal needle, like
an ice pick,
behind your eye, like somewhere past your eye. They really didn't know what part of the brain they were going for, or what. It was very experimental. They didn't know what the fuck they were doing. They were just like, let's just take a piece of the brain out and see what happens. See if that helps. I think they were going for like the frontal lobe, because it's like the frontal lobe helps you make decisions or whatever. But literally they were killing patients by doing this. Like, if you just hit the wrong part of the brain, or God forbid they put the pick in the wrong place and then they blind the patient, like, it's insane. But I think lobotomies are outlawed now, hopefully.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever seen the movie Sucker Punch?
Yes.
You have?
Yes, I love that movie.
Me too. Yeah.
Travis loved it too.
Oh my God, I love that movie. But
we saw it for the first time together at a movie theater.
Oh, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, we did.
Well, I watched it as a kid, probably with you at a movie theater.
Yeah.
And then when I grew up, I was like, what's that one movie where that girl is like dreaming about all this shit happening to her, but then she's really in an insane asylum, and then at the end they like poke her eye.
Yeah.
Well, I looked it up and I realized she got a lobotomy.
And which is why she was dreaming all that stuff?
Well, because she's mentally ill. Yeah. And then
it was like, it was her coping mechanism
from being in the insane asylum.
Yeah.
But she gets a lobotomy and she's pretty much like a vegetable. Yeah. Like, can't talk, can't move.
Oh yeah, I do remember that at the end.
Yeah, and everything stops for her.
I'm gonna go home
and watch sad.
that. I'm gonna go home and watch that now.
Yeah, I had the DVD somewhere, but I know you probably don't watch DVDs anymore.
Oh no, and the disc reader on the Xbox doesn't work.
Yeah, but anyways, I was gonna say that like I was probably like 17 when I realized what the fuck that was, and then I thought it was like a horror movie. Like, oh, it's just like something that happened in the movie. And then to find out they did it in real life.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying about like Central State. Like, you see the movies, and this actually fucking happened in Indianapolis, like, for over 100 years.
Over 100 years,
bruh.
Crazy.
All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back.
I was gonna say that years later they decided what piece to actually cut instead of it being random.
Do you have that information?
No, just years later.
Oh, okay.
Didn't say when.
All right, we'll be right back.
So not only was this the house for mentally ill, quote unquote mentally ill, but they also started housing inmates.
Yep, criminally insane.
What the actual fuck?
Mixing them in with just regular old mental patients that just needed mental health. Yeah.
Wow. There was a lot of fighting within the inmates themselves. Yep.
Patients were killing each other.
Inmates were killing each other.
Yeah. There's over 500 patients buried on the grounds, by the way.
Over 500?
Over 500, yes. In unmarked graves. The
documentary that I was watching, she couldn't find the cemetery, quote unquote cemetery.
I know where it's at now. It's they built like a secondary police interceptor.
I rode those horses.
No, not on that side. On Vermont and Tibbs, like on that corner.
Oh.
There's another horse thing right there.
Oh yeah.
That's where the cemetery was. I have a map of it.
They built it on top of that? Mm-hmm. On top of the cemetery?
Well, so when they first started putting the people in the graves...
Wait, horses are very sensitive to that.
Yeah, that's true.
What the fuck?
When they first put the people in the ground, they had them in marked graves that are just marked by a stake that had a number on it, and it would be correlating to their patient file. So it didn't even have their name on it. And then as the groundskeepers would keep the grounds, they started pulling the stakes out of the grounds because it was getting hard to cut the grass. And so that's why they're now unmarked.
Oh my God, those groundkeepers, y'all went to hell for sure.
Yeah. And also there is like a stone somewhere that I saw in one of the videos of like a list of like 1,000 names of patients that died at Central State. And it says like Central State Hospital on like a stone.
Oh.
I don't know where it is though. I never seen it.
That's interesting.
I don't know if it's on the property or not. Mm-hmm. But we're going to try to go there. So maybe we'll see it.
Wow. That's fucked up.
Yeah.
Okay. This is just wild to me. Like, yeah. It was already terrible as it was. Yeah. And then you add in the criminally insane. It's like, who the fuck thought that was a good idea?
Yeah.
They
should have had their own facility.
They should have had their own place. Yeah. Like, oh my God, just terrible. So by the 1950s, there was more compassionate approach. And also there's a new generation of drugs. So with the advancement of science, we got Largactil, which proved to be calming in psychotic patients. So that really revolutionized how they could be treated. Mm-hmm. And ultimately the end of the asylum. So that along with lithium.
Yeah, there was like no more need for like these experimental procedures of like lobotomies and shock therapy. And I think shock therapy is still done in a certain way today, but not the way it was back then. Not so like flippantly.
Do you watch American Horror Story?
Sometimes, depending on the season.
Did you watch the asylum one?
Yes, I think so. It's been a long time though.
I feel like that's very similar to like what we're talking about today.
If you've seen Asylum on American Horror Story, same thing.
Same thing, exactly.
Or like, what's that one? Shutter Island.
Ooh,
have you seen Shutter Island?
I don't think so.
It's very good, very good. Anyway, tunnels or what?
Hang on, I still have more about the drugs.
Okay, drugs.
They also had tranquilizing drugs that caused other problems. They caused the patients to mentally slow down. So that wasn't very good.
Yeah, I had seen a documentary where a mother of a patient that was there was complaining that her son was always over medicated. And it was like around the time that the new drugs were coming out. They were like a zombie or like a robot.
Yeah. Do you think like if you were a mother at the time and something you thought was wrong with your kid, do you feel like because of how society was back then that maybe people were like pressuring people to like put them,
like send them off?
Yeah, like, oh, just send them to the hospital. They can like fix them. Or
well,
like what was the mentality back then? Because they had so many patients.
This mother that was talking about it, and now that I think of it, it wasn't actually at Central State. It was at a different hospital in another state, but same type of situation. She was just like, you know, if I kept him at home, he would go missing for like 6 weeks and I couldn't find him. So I had to put him somewhere where they would keep him and make sure he was okay. Otherwise, I don't know if he's alive or dead.
Wow. So maybe it was like the less of the two evils for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I guess my question too goes with like, so we just recently as a society started taking mental health seriously, right? Within the last 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
Before that, we didn't really talk about it. It wasn't really a thing,
taboo.
Very taboo. Do you think it's because of these like insane asylums and these experiments that caused it to then flip and be like, don't say anything because they might put you in an insane asylum?
Ooh. Maybe.
After,
maybe that had a part in it.
Yeah, like after like maybe reports of abuse came out.
At large, especially more recently, I think it's more of like us being able to be connected with other people and just share commonalities.
Oh, yeah.
Because if I know I have depression, you know you have depression, and 50,000 other people on TikTok have depression, then it's destigmatized for the most part. But yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. You have more?
So between 1988 and 1992, they said on their documentary, 24 patients may have died under questionable circumstances. So that's not including
only 24.
That's not including the 500 patients that you mentioned. These are just questionable circumstances, like literally.
So these were like reported, probably like
reported. Yes, and literally could not tell you how they died. Literally have no idea. Open the door, they were dead on the floor. No idea. Couldn't tell you.
Could have been from starvation. Could have been from a disease they caught at the hospital. Another patient could have killed them. They could have killed themselves.
But whatever happened,
their lobotomy killed them.
Yeah, it wasn't like determined how they died.
Their shock therapy killed them. They were in an induced coma.
Yeah, like which one, bruh?
I mean, just pick one.
After so many investigations, they finally closed for good in 1994.
1994 was the year I was born, by the way.
Damn!
I think we had concluded that the last patient was released in 1999, which was 5 years after I was born and 3 years after Angelica was born.
I was going to say, it was open for a total of 146 years.
Yeah. It was open for a total of 146 years. That's funny because it opened 146 years before I was born.
Well, yeah, because you were born in 1994.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, very funny.
Oh, wow. I was like, wait, I've already done this math.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Wait, no. It opened 146 years before I was born.
Yeah, that's what you just said.
Hold on. I'm having trouble.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Oh, this is not good.
This is not good. Why are you opening Instagram?
Because there's this video.
Oh, God.
Who did I send it to? Oh, this is going to take me forever to find.
You have to show me later.
Kelsey, are you for real right now?
No, I get it.
No, I don't think you do.
I do.
No, I don't think you do. I don't think you do. There's this video. And it's two girls on a podcast too. One of the girls said, I read on Instagram the other day that if you take the current year minus your birth year, you'll get your birthday. Sorry, you'll get your age.
Yeah.
Every single time. And the other girl goes, yeah, that's exactly how it works.
You calculate how old
and
you
she
are.
goes, yeah, like, for example, like, it's 2023 and I was born on blah, blah, blah. It's 27. I'm 27.
Oh my God.
And the girl's like, wait, are you like fucking with me right now? And she goes, what are you talking about? And she's like, that's literally what it is. Like, of course.
Yeah.
And then it took her a second. Like, you can just see her like loading. And she goes, that's funny because it opened.
Yeah.
I was born.
Have you heard about girl math?
You just girl math.
Well, that wasn't girl
math. That wasn't girl math, but that was like...
Girl math is so much better than I promise you.
If I pay with cash, it's free.
Yeah. Or if I already have money on my Starbucks card, then it's free.
If I return something and I get money back for it,
then I just earned money.
I made money. Yeah.
Or like, so there's a podcast in New Zealand, I think, that they do girl math segments. It might be a radio show.
Oh, you sent it to me.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Girl math.
Yeah. There's like this one video you sent me where a girl bought a hairdryer.
Yeah.
And how her husband how her husband uses it too, and they were like calculating all that.
Yeah, so like
she actually made a profit.
Yeah, they'll take it down to like per hair strand.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So funny. If you haven't seen girl math, search it on TikTok. It's a trend right now. It's funny.
Oh my God, so funny. Okay, I guess last thing I have. That's funny because that's funny. I can't wait to.
I'm like, I've already done this math. I literally did this math when I wrote this.
So, kind of like how Kelsey said, again, the pathology building, what used to be the pathology building, is now the museum.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's interesting. It's cool. Go check it out.
Yeah.
And then the dining hall that they have there is now a venue.
Yeah.
Which was potentially...
Huh? $18.99.
Yes. And I said potentially wrong. And it was...
What did you say?
Potentially. Potentially could have been my wedding venue.
Yeah. Remember on the wedding episode when I said I had found 3 venues that were available on her day and within budget? $18.99 was one of them, and she was freaked out about it. But I was like, it's so pretty.
No. Before you told me, before that all happened, I knew it was a venue.
Yeah.
And I knew it was available, and I was shocked that they turned it into a venue.
Yeah.
And I don't want to look into it any further.
It's beautiful though. Like if you look at the pictures, it looks like the dining hall in Harry Potter.
Yes.
Like the lights, the way it's set up, it's like a long stretch and it's like lights everywhere.
It does look really nice.
They've definitely done it justice.
I heard it's a Hispanic owner.
Oh.
I think that's what Jess told me. But yeah, she said it's really nice. And the reason
it's called 1899 is because that's the year that they opened the building, the dining hall. In 1899. Jesus Christ. Yeah, because the map I have, it shows each building and what year it was opened. And 1899 is the dining hall.
Well, I was just going to say that... Oh, and something I forgot to say about my venue is that the guy that fucked up on my venue was like, this is the first time this has ever happened to me. I've never fucked up like this before. And then we go to the venue where it actually was, and he's like, no, I've had to save them a couple times.
Yeah, like other vendors were saying, this has happened before.
Like he's losing his shit.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, proceed.
Okay, so in talking about this, both me and Angelica apparently had the same thought, but I actually got the information for the timeline of events of like how mental health treatment has changed over time. And what's funny about this is I started looking it up on my lunch break today and I could not find what I was looking for. I was looking for concise facts over time about how mental health treatment has changed. Like when they started opening insane asylums, when they started doing lobotomies, when they stopped doing lobotomies, and yada, yada, yada. I could not find that specific information. So I was
like, should upload this and get credit for it.
Right. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to ask an AI chatbot. And like, you know what the fuck I did? I did that. And you know what they gave me? Exactly what the fuck I wanted. So I'm about to feed it to y'all. So it starts out in ancient times, which would be pre-500 CE. Mental health was often...
What's CE?
I don't know. You want to look it up? 500 CE. It's the same as AD.
Okay, so after. Yes. I don't know what AD stands for. I just call it after death.
Yeah.
Beginning of the Middle Ages.
Dark Ages.
No. Okay.
Okay, so mental health was often attributed to supernatural or religious causes. Ancient civilizations practiced rituals, exorcisms, trepanation, drilling holes into the skull as treatment methods.
Who the fuck thought of that?
Like, I think we all know that like mental health started out as like possession, like because of how strongly religious
the world was.
Yeah, really. how religious the world was and how everything was based in religion back then.
Mm-hmm.
That was the only explanation for it. I was like, you're just not praying hard enough.
Yep.
You got the devil in you. And then it goes to the medieval era, which is 500 to 1500 CE or AD. Mental illness was often seen as a result of demonic possession or witchcraft. So then that's when we're getting into like Salem witch trials, like that kind of stuff. Which, I have a fun fact about that. I need to enter in a second. Asylums and hospitals for the mentally ill were established in Europe, but conditions within these institutions were often deplorable.
Oh my God, that early?
Yeah, but only in Europe. It hadn't come in other parts of the States yet. Wow. It hadn't come yet. Hold on.
It came later.
Fungus.
Oh my God, I was listening to last week's episode where what did Jose say? Something big. And I said, I can think of something else that's big.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, your head. And I was like, damn.
If you didn't listen to that, go back to episode number 21.
Like, damn, you got me.
Okay. Okay, so this is around the Salem witch trial times. So, during the Salem witch trial times, they were thinking that people were witches because of like certain things that they were doing. If they were acting crazy, like literally anything you'd be accused of being a witch.
If you dance too much.
Yes.
If you were too pretty.
Yeah, anything. So in 1976, which is not during those times, Dr. Linda Corporale of the Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute found evidence that supported the latter hypothesis. She proposed that perhaps the brief and intense illnesses suffered by so many of the townspeople were not bewitchment, but rather ergotism, a disease commonly contracted by rye.
The bread!
The bread.
Yes, that's what was making people delulu.
Yes. There is a certain...
moldy bread.
So it's like in the process of making bread, if you don't do it the correct way, it causes a fungus, and that fungus can cause hallucinations and even physical symptoms. It can make you sick. It can kill you. And so that is now looking back, that was in 1976 that she theorized that. Now looking back, that could have been a reason why people were being accused of being witches. It was in the fucking bread. And then I was listening to Ladies and Tangents. Shout out Ladies and Tangents.
Shout
out. They were talking about the dancing plague.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard of this?
Yeah, where they danced for like 100 and something days or whatever.
Over 400 people died. The dancing plague of 1518. Over 400 people died because they could not stop dancing. And literally, just look this up. It sounds crazy, but just look it up. But some people have attributed the ergotism to that plague of like causing people to go insane and dance forever and like get dehydrated and malnourished and then passing away.
Like they literally wouldn't stop dancing to go pee, to go eat, to go drink.
Until they passed out, and then they'd wake back up and continue dancing. And then people were joining them.
Oh my God,
that's crazy. Okay. So now we're on to the 18th and 19th centuries. Moral treatment approach gained prominence, emphasizing human and compassionate care for the mentally ill. Psychiatrists such as Philip Pinel and William Turk advocated for improved living conditions and therapeutic interventions in asylums. So the 19th century, right, would have been the 1800s. Is that how it works?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is around the time that Central State was open. And then the early 20th century, the development of psychoanalysis by Sigmund Freud introduced talk therapy as a treatment modality for mental illness. The first electroconvulsive therapy ECT procedures were conducted. Psychiatric medications such as chlorpromazine. Wow, I'm a pharmacy tech and I couldn't get that. Chlorpromazine were discovered and used to treat mental disorders. Mid-20th century, institutionalization declined as deinstitutionalization policies were implemented, leading to the closure of many asylums. So this is around the time where they were like, okay, institutionalizing these people are making it worse. It needs to be more of like a community effort rather than like locking them up in a crazy house. Development and widespread use of antipsychotic medications began. Psychotherapy, including cognitive behavioral therapy, which is the most common kind of therapy in today's age, gained popularity as a treatment method, which is basically like talk therapy. Late 20th century, the Diagnostic and Statistic Manual of Mental Disorders, the DSM, which is also called the Canon, was published, providing a standardized classification system for mental disorders. So if you don't know what the DSM is, basically a board of like mental health professionals get together and every so often will update the DSM to current diagnoses, and will use those for official diagnosis to bill insurance and, get medications prescribed and things like that. I was actually watching a TikTok today about the DSM being very, 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 very highly biased, because some of the people who are on the board of physicians to create the DSM have a ton of conflict of interest with pharmaceutical companies. So something to think about. Should kind of seems like that should be illegal, but okay.
See, my coworker's always telling me that with every prescription a doctor prescribes, they get paid more for that. And that's why like they constantly want to put you on medication before actually getting like to the root of the problem.
Yeah.
Like, why is this happening? No, it's put you on medication.
I don't think all doctors have that deal going on, because they like pharmaceutical companies can't put on every single doctor in America, but
no, I don't think it works like that specifically, but there's definitely an incentive to prescribe more medication.
For sure.
So I remember when they prescribed me sertraline, every appointment I went to, so how are you feeling with sertraline? I'm like, oh no, I haven't taken it yet. Well, why not? Like, why haven't you?
Yeah.
Every appointment they like push on it. I'm like, no, I'm not ready to take that yet. I have it, but like, I'm not ready yet.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well maybe start that and see if you feel better. But I feel good right now. Like I feel okay.
Yeah. That's kind of weird that they were pushing it, even though you were saying you were fine.
I was saying I was fine. Yeah.
Development and widespread, I already read that. A field of psychopharmacology rapidly expanded, leading to the development of various psychiatric medications. Alternative therapies such as mindfulness-based interventions gained recognition. This was late 20th century, so end of the 1900s.
1990s.
1990s, yeah. All right, 21st century. Increased awareness and destigmatization of mental health issues. Hallelujah. Expansion of telemedicine and other online therapy options. Hallelujah. Greater emphasis on a holistic approach, including combining medication with therapy and lifestyle modifications, like we were just saying. Continued research and advancements in neuroscience, genetics, and personalized medication that may lead to more targeted treatments. I've heard about that too. And then AI just wrote this part. I'll just read it. It's important to note that in this timeline provides a general overview, and different regions and cultures may have had unique approaches to mental health treatment throughout history. Mental health treatment continues to evolve as new discoveries and approaches emerge. Okay, so I did ask AI about any current long-term mental health facilities in Indiana, and there are 4 of them. There is Richmond State Hospital in Richmond, Indiana, Evansville State Hospital in Evansville, Logansport State Hospital in Logansport, and then LaRue D. Carter Memorial Hospital. Now, LaRue D. Carter is in Indianapolis. It's on Cold Springs Road over by Marian University. I've actually passed it a couple of times, and I'm like, man, that looks like a mental hospital because it's like a giant mansion.
I know exactly what you're talking about, by the golf
behind
course.
Gates. Yeah. Yeah, it's behind Gates. It's a giant mansion. It looks like a mental health hospital. And fun fact about that,
my God.
They used to have 2 facilities, the one on Cold Springs Road, and the other one was where Eskenazi Hospital is now.
Wow. Right. Wait. Okay. But that must have been like recently, within the last like 15 years, right?
Because Eskenazi opened like when we were in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me look up that hospital really quick. I was telling my coworker, like, I would love to like go in and tour that place to see what it's like compared to like what we've read about Central State, and just see how it's different. Look, this says LaRue Carter. I wonder if that was the original building. Another thing maybe we can cover later in October is another haunted building is in Rockville, Indiana, and it's called the Indiana State Sanatorium. You ever heard of that? I haven't heard of it either until I started doing this research. So maybe we could cover that later on this month.
Yeah.
So I want to jump into some comments. All right, we're going to take a break. Be right back. Okay, we're back. So I'm in this Facebook group, and it is called Old Time Indies, Long Missed Businesses and Forgotten History. And so most of the time they're talking about old businesses like, oh, what used to be in this building? What used to be in this building?
I love that.
It's actually really cool. So highly recommend joining that group.
What's it called?
Old Time Indies, Long Missed Businesses and Forgotten History.
That's a long ass name.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so the post says, good morning. We are looking to do a podcast episode on Central State Hospital. Does anyone have any interesting memories or stories? Looking for any and everything you have to offer. I got 22 reactions on that and 16 answers. So, let's see. This woman said, I'm not going to say names because I don't know if they wanted their names to be on. We lived in the neighborhood. My sons played baseball at the park between Central State and St. Anthony's Catholic Church on Mormon, which I don't know if that park's still there, if they've put townhouses right there. I think they've put townhouses there. With ease, some of the patients would climb the fence at the corner, come down, and watch the game. The priest at St. Anthony's, Father Ryan, who was a wonderful priest, said they would come knocking on the door of the rectory there. He would give them something to eat and visit a while, then drive them back to the hospital if it was after dark. That would have been the late 70s and 80s. Not too many patients there at that time.
Wow.
Isn't that so interesting?
I wonder when the church was built.
Well, and it made me think that, well, maybe we can look that up. It made me think, like, I wonder how much the church had to endure during the time that the hospital was open.
Wow, I didn't think about that.
Like, by the way, the priest had to endure.
That park is still there. they just removed. There was a shelter there. There was a couple of soccer fields.
Mm-hmm.
That's all gone. But the actual park itself is still there.
History, 1891. So 50 years after the hospital opened. 40 years.
Wow. So quite a bit then.
Yeah. Well, by the time the hospital was at thousands of patients, they were open and running and probably had a large congregation.
Wow.
Okay, next comment. Oh, I replied, that's a cool story. I wonder what else the St. Anthony Church has seen being directly next to it. She said, probably lots of things.
Excuse me.
Oh, no. She didn't say anything else. So this guy says, my dad was a patient there in the late 50s, suffered from bipolar, and was treated with electroshock therapy. So I'm so sorry to hear he endured that. Is he still with us? And he said, no, passed away many years ago.
Wow.
Another woman said, the only stories I have are more like horror stories about patients. I would never repeat them for patients' privacy and for their families. I do have strong feelings about the way they closed Central State, and patients and their families were left helpless. And there were times when attempts were made to place Central State's chronically mental ill patients into other facilities, group homes, and it upset the neighborhood that the group homes were in. Just bad all the way around. I'm sure there were many success stories coming from Central State, but like everyone else, the bad is what you remember the most. I said, so did most patients get sent home or out on the street? I always wondered about that. She said, it was crazy. Everything, all of the above happened. Some were returned home that could not be placed. Some went to group homes. Some were left homeless. I'm sure you could do some investigation and get the actual numbers if the state of Indiana would be willing to disclose that information. I don't have the actual numbers or access to them, or I would let you have it. I would start with articles in the Indianapolis Star News. That's a good point. You could go to the archives of the Indianapolis Star around the time that it was closing, and I bet there would be tons of articles about like how they're mistreating the closing of it.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to see if there was like an increase in people experiencing homelessness, drug abuse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
This woman said, I had a brother-in-law in the 70s break out every couple weeks and walked home, stayed a couple days, then returned. And older brother was 14-ish and put there for about a year. I said, were they looking for him? Why did he go back? She said, I don't believe they looked for him. He just knew where he was supposed to be, I assume. I was telling my coworker about this. I'm like, it's kind of like interesting to think that a patient in the insane asylum would leave and then just come back. And also, were they not looking for him? They weren't like, patient escaped, like, what was that dynamic?
I mean, probably not. And that probably happened like did she say when?
No. 70s.
In the 70s.
Yeah.
Which is when they started tearing down the building. So maybe it really wasn't that bad. And maybe
or maybe there's a lot less care because they were tearing down the buildings.
Well, that and like if he had been there for a while, then he probably didn't have a job set up or school set up or friends. Like,
yeah, there was no other choice but to go back.
Yeah, like, okay, well, I'll just go back then.
Yeah. This guy says, we had an older neighbor lady that lived across the street from us. Her granddaughter, a friend, told us one of Miss Julia, I won't say her name, Miss Julia, I'll just say Miss Julia, sons wanted her home, so he wanted her home, like her house. So he put her in Central State Hospital. She died there and is buried in a cemetery near there.
Oh my God.
This was around 1957. My mother and I visited Miss Julia there often.
What a bitch.
Yeah, and I replied, so she didn't actually need mental health treatment. They just put her away. That's very sad. And he didn't reply.
Wow, that too.
Yeah.
Just if you were getting older.
Lie about somebody's mental health and just stick them in the mental health hospital. But like you were saying, like there's a stigma around it, like, oh, don't say that. You'll get somebody will stick you in the loony bin. Like they'll come and pick you up and throw you in the back of a van.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean? This woman says,
wait, like I wonder how many like wives went through that specific scenario.
Yeah. There's actually used to be in the DSM, I don't remember the exact diagnosis. I heard about it on TikTok, but it was around the theory of like what's the word? Masochism. Like women staying in bad, toxic, abusive relationships and not leaving them, they would be diagnosed with like self-inflicted masochism.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? It used to be in the DSM.
Wow. I mean, I believe it.
There was also another diagnosis that was called, hold on one second. I wrote it down. It's in my notes.
It's in my notes.
Self-defeating personality disorder.
Damn.
That's obviously outdated now. All right, this woman said, my parents met and fell in love at Central State. They were both working there at the time. Since your room and board were included, I think it drew people from rural areas like southern Indiana where they were from. I think they both had relatives that had led the way for them to getting jobs there. They got married in the parsonage of the church just east of Central State, which to me, that would be, unless she's talking about St. Anthony, that one we went to for VBS.
Wow, they actually have like programs.
West Park Christian Church.
West Park Christian Church.
That's what it used to be called. West Park Christian Church.
Oh, now it's Victory in the City.
Okay.
Why did we bring that up?
Because she said there was a church that they got married to off to the east.
O'Reilly's.
They do that on Ladies and Tangents. When Sierra goes, O'Reilly. Worked there right out of high school, minimum security ward. Some nights cards and games, and other nights were very wild. Take the tour of the medical museum. I have. My grandmother was a patient there. I would love to tell you how lobotomies really mess a person up.
Oh my God,
That's
sad.
Very sad. That place was a house of horrors, abused by the staff. I grew up right by it. I used to sneak in there at night. While it was open or while it was closed? I had an older patient years ago. He was telling me that directly west of Central State, the land hadn't been developed yet when he was a boy. He said that some of the land was used for the horses. Also, when we were kids, 1960-ish, our mother would threaten to send us to the Seven Steeples if we didn't settle down.
Mm.
I had no clue what she was talking about. The Seven Steeples is the women's ward.
You know what I just thought about? Mm-hmm. On the other side of Tibbs is that cemetery.
Yeah. I wonder if there's patients there.
Yeah. I mean, maybe not though, because I mean they did have 1,000 acres of land. It's like, why would they have to cross the street to take bodies? You know?
Yeah.
But still, though, that's interesting. You know, there's a trailer park there too.
Yeah, it's like kind of hidden. There's only like a few of them there.
Yeah, but like on the cemetery grounds.
Yeah, that's scary.
What the fuck?
There are a few buildings that have been repurposed instead of torn down, such as the Central State Mansion, which we are theorizing that was the admin building. And
what the fuck is it now?
It's apartments. In one building.
There's a pool behind there?
Mm-hmm. It's very nice looking. Wow. That must be what it looked like before they redid it.
Apartments?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Central State Mansion, 202.
Wow.
So if you just Google Central State Mansion, you can see pictures of it.
I wonder how much it is.
The old property, like the field where all the old buildings used to be, is very beautiful. It's very nice to walk on. Oh, I didn't say this part. So I used to live, before we bought the house that we have now, we lived in the neighborhood right next to Central State's old property. We were actually 3 doors down from Vermont Street, right across from where you could enter into the gate where they had like a guard box there. And you could like walk onto the property. Like it was allowed to walk on the property. And the bathroom.
It's just nice.
Yeah, it was really nice. There's a virtual tour. Oh, that's a single apartment.
Oh my God.
$1,500 to $4,000. Oh, that's on Westlake Drive.
Yeah, that's different.
It doesn't say the price.
None are available, so we can't see how much they cost.
Oh, look at fees right here. Who knows? Yeah, that sucks. Oh, it's just deposit and stuff. So anyway, I lived there for about 2 years, and I would take my dog to walk on the property. And it was actually really nice. It's very peaceful out there. It's very like open and windy. And oh, there we go.
From similar nearby apartments.
Oh. But the guard shack is even creepy. There's like a hole in the ground next to the guard shack. I don't know if it's still there or not. We'll try to get that on video if we go. Then there's the museum. There's the powerhouse, which is like where there's like boilers and like basically how they powered the entire property. And then underground is 5 miles of tunnel. Did we ever say that?
We talked about tunnels, but I don't think we talked about
There's 5 miles of tunnel, and apparently it's wide enough for a gurney to fit through, but you have to duck down like when you walk underneath. And if you go down there now, of course, there's like a bunch of graffiti and stuff, but there have been paranormal researchers that have gone and done paranormal research there and explored and have caught, voices on camera and stuff. And there's been reports of like workers that worked there getting like strangled in their sleep. And so it's definitely 100% haunted. But my question was always like, where do these tunnels go? Like the property is not 5 miles long. So I wonder where it goes.
What do you mean?
There's 5 miles of tunnel?
Mm-hmm.
Is it just 5 miles amongst the whole 100 acres?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
I think I'd seen
Does 5 miles fit in 100 acres?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't know about acres. I don't know about acres, so.
I think usually, so like, for example, if you're taking GPS and it tells you to get off an exit, that's usually like less than 2 miles away. Mm-hmm. And if you think about 100 acres, yeah, for sure. Yeah, look at the map for the tunnels.
Is there
in the video? Yeah, she showed the map.
Of course, we'll post these photos with the episode posting. So if you're not on Instagram or Facebook, is this it?
Looks like it, yeah.
This looks like the above ground roads, because that's where I would enter.
Okay, then go to the next one.
This is the map I have, which is of the buildings.
Okay, go down.
I guess these could be the tunnels in between.
So weird though. Like in the videos that I'd seen of other people like investigating these tunnels, they would have to like drop in through a square in the ground.
Oh,
that's so weird.
I saw some people just walk down the stairs.
Really?
Yeah.
It must have been different tunnels then.
Yeah. Look at this. It's inside the powerhouse.
I would never even want to go in, because what if like I would get lost? Like,
yeah, I wouldn't go in the tunnels.
How the fuck do I get back out? I'd be
afraid to get lost. Yeah. So anyway,
oh my gosh,
we are going to. Is that everything?
Did we get any personal submissions from our listeners?
There's something else at the end. Oh yeah, Kathy had a story. Shout out Kathy, which is Angelica's cousin. She sent me a text when she found out we were doing this, because she had a little bit of a story for us.
Her and I talked about it later, and I was like, yeah, I don't remember
that. Damn, I can't find it. Hold on. There it is. One time when I was little, probably 10 or 11, all my cousins, including Maria and Kika, which is what she calls Angelica, or their family calls Angelica, and their friends headed towards the hospital near the soccer field because we were bored and at the St. Anthony Festival. Which, how can you be bored at the St. Anthony Festival? Anyway, it's a festival.
We probably were poor.
Yeah.
Didn't have any money to spend.
Yeah.
We were probably poor. We were poor.
We
are poor.
We were doing a game where the person who got closer to the hospital was the bravest. We were all in line and took steps forward, and I remember looking at a window and seeing it shatter into more pieces, so I turned around to tell someone.
Isn't that crazy? She saw that.
Yeah.
What if like the ghosties wanted her to see that?
Yeah.
Because there's no way it would have shattered.
Like besties, but ghosties.
You never heard ghosties?
Mm-mm.
Oh. I say ghosties sometimes.
Oh.
Like there's no way that it shattered right as she was looking at it. You know, it's crazy.
That's true. The odds of it.
Yeah.
So I turned around to tell someone next to me, and everyone was back at the starting spot. I believe it was Kika who told me I was the one who got the closest when I walked back to the group. But I think it was because I was distracted by the window that I didn't realize everyone got scared when they heard a cracking sound, which I didn't hear, and headed back. Scary.
Hell fucking no. I would never get close to those buildings. I'd be so scared every time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And every time we were there, like someone always wanted to get close to those buildings. Someone always wanted to see how far they could get, like how far they'd get. Someone always wanted to see how close they could get. My God.
Okay, remember the text I sent you today that I was listening back at the podcast and you said over and over again?
Yeah, what about it?
We were playing Two Truths and a Lie, and you messed up one of your lies, and you're like, damn, this was foolproof. I checked it over and over again.
Oh my God. What's wrong with me?
You're like, nope, didn't say that right. Gotta say it again. Maybe it's an OCD thing.
What is?
Like, maybe your brain is like, you didn't say it right the first time, so you have to say it again.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You think that's why?
Yeah, like when I'm typing and I mess up a word, like people tell me, like, why don't you just click into where you need to like correct it? I'm like, no, the whole thing has to go.
You just backspace and retype.
The whole thing, yeah.
Damn.
Whatever I need to get. Probably. See, Jose said it too. Like, I'm sure it annoys the fuck out of him. It annoys me too. We get into arguments sometimes.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, it gets kind of bad. Anyway.
Well, we'd end on that note. And if we didn't, here's the outro.
Okay, bye, besties.
Bye, besties. We'll see you next time.
See ya.